Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to our Wednesday, the Leading Change episode with Maximilian Dazer, or Max as we call him, in Berlin. Hey Max, welcome back.
Hi guys.
So Max, we explore change and we've been talking about change a lot in the past two episodes. So I'm really eager to hear the story you have for us for today's episode. And leading change is one of those key responsibilities and also skills that we need to have as Scrum Masters. So tell us a story of a process of change that you were involved with and walk us through how it went, but also highlight, the tips, the tools, the techniques, the things you learned during that process that you still take with you today and apply.
Yeah, multiple examples. Like one easy thing what we can just talk about quickly is making Scrum work for the organization. Because most teams, they have all the Scrum events, but no one explained them why are we doing this. So no one explained them why should you meet daily and plan. So it's a reporting event for them. The sprint review is the same. It's a reporting event to management. And one of the biggest change event for me is always making Scrum work for an organization. Talking about the sprint review is this kind of meeting where we want to plan or inspect our increment and talk about next steps, talk about the product backlog. Is this still the most important stuff? Did something change? And when you talk about this, suddenly people say, yeah, but we can't do this. We don't have customers in there. And then you say, yeah, maybe we should invite them. And then just by explaining the purpose of this event, people realize that, we can improve there. We should be better. We should have a better process for our product management in general. Otherwise, we're just gambling on solving the right problems, but we never know. That's an easy thing. Another big change project was something in a company which was bound to a diversity and inclusion initiative, career progression. So our developers were not really satisfied with their career in general. So what do I need to do to advance to the next career level? What is there actually in for me besides a better salary and a title? Also, there was a problem that when someone worked for the company 5 years, they earned less than someone who was just recently hired because wages constantly grow. This is more or less, it's straight unfair. You just punish people for being loyal to the company. What tends to happen is that all the just called minorities, people of color, women, queer people, they just tend to get paid less by an organization. That's just looking at the statistics, that's just how it is if you don't try to be transparent about this. So what we try to do is having a salary bandwidth. So we defined roles like junior, intermediate, senior, up to CTO. So this is the salary you can expect. For a junior, just random numbers, it could be 40,000 to 50,000 euros.
A year.
Per year. Yeah, thank you. And for midterm, this could be 45,000 to, let's say, 65,000 per year. And according to these salaries, we had an expectation, what do you need to do to be a junior? This could be, we had different skills, like leadership skills, agile development practices like test-driven development, pair programming, domain knowledge. And we define different criteria, how are you a beginner, intermediate, and advanced level in these categories. And we said, for example, to be a junior, you need to be at least on every level beginner. Intermediate, you need to be intermediate for agile development practices and at least intermediate in one other level. So it made transparent for people on how to grow. And when you had one-on-ones, either with me as a Scrum Master, but also with your manager, it was more tangible to give you action items. And we could say...
And feedback, right?
Yeah. So it was not just, not right now, I don't believe you're trying hard enough. We could then say, no, you're doing really good, but maybe I don't see that you're doing test-driven development or just, for example, that you write unit tests. A stupid example, but then at least they had something where they know, I can improve there. And after they achieve that, they could come back and then probably get the raise and the new title and whatever was kind of for them satisfying to do. And just by this step, it was easier for management to talk with people, getting feedback.
Kind of, it established an expectation level, kind of a framework for having those conversations about career growth and salaries, right?
Yeah. So this was the first advantage. One other thing we did, we constantly inspected the salary bandwidth. And if we found out that we need to increase it by, let's say, 5,000 euros for every level to attract new talent, we would increase the wages of our employees without asking them. Because that's how you keep people satisfied.
And also how you become transparent when it comes to salaries, right?
Yeah. And what we achieved, so no salary was published. So still people, like two juniors might still have one earning 40,000, the other 45,000 per year. But at least it was more or less relatable, because our goal was, if suddenly we publish like an Excel sheet with all the salaries, our expectation was that you can look at it and understand why are you maybe more at the bottom of the list and earning less, or at the top. So everyone should more or less agree to his salary and salary of the others. This was one big change project that achieved, like, it just improved on so many levels, like management in general. People were happier. It was easy for us to attract talent, to retain talent. Yeah, so this is one of my favorite change process stories.
And actually, it's a great example, because it also refers to change that is not process related, but rather in this case, it's, career advancement, salary, and overall culture related, right? Because you were also establishing some cultural pillars like better transparency and clear expectations salary-wise, a clear guidance on how to evolve in your career, right? How to get to the next level. That's a great example. And tell me one thing though, because obviously many organizations do this, but that doesn't necessarily mean that people are on board. So the question is, how did you get everybody? Not just the people who were doing that definition of that, salary bands and skill set matrix for each role, but how did you get the organization on board with this change process?
So there it depends. In best case, from let's say management perspective, you can just argue that getting something like this will help us to attract talent and retain talent, which is in the software industry always an issue. And it's just to put numbers, it's cheaper to retain your talent that you currently have than just constantly need to rehire and get more knowledge into them. Your teams will perform more stable because they are more committed on a long-term vision. They stay together, long-lived. And then you just need to hope that they agree to it. So I haven't found the best answer to this yet, because I also had this in another organization where a manager to me said, here, we are not paying people equally or not even fair because we don't have the money for that, which I think is a bad excuse. But when this is the answer, you can't just convince them that this is the right thing to do. You could always argue, we probably have the money for that. We just don't want to.
Yeah, we want to divide the money differently, right?
So this is the more honest answer. But yeah, I guess at first you need to coach the management. And other than that, what I would then do immediately is talk to the teams, get them on board, that they create this kind of career framework. Because I constantly say this for Scrum Masters, Agile coaches, whatever they're called. It's important that you work in an Agile kind of way. So not doing a waterfall approach for this career framework. So not designing it, then implementing it, and then 3 months later we look at it.
And you talked about it, right? That you regularly inspect it and adapt it on those salary bands. That's a great story, and also a very uncommon story here on the podcast. One of changing how management organizes the hiring and career development, and of course salary payments. That was a great story. Thank you for sharing that, Max.
Thank you for having me here.
Leading change is one of the core skills we must acquire, but it is only one of the steps towards our success as Scrum Masters. Tomorrow, on Success Thursday, we will talk about how to define success for the Scrum Master role, we'll cover tips on how to measure your way to that position, and most importantly, how to develop that focus on continuous improvement that is as important for Scrum Masters as it is for teams. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.